Hello, dear audience. We are moving to the next topic of our today conference. I just want to remind you that our conference is held in by business analysts community, and currently we are more than 4,000 community members. So please join us, and you'll receive a lot of useful information and great content. And of what we have now, it's a thank you all who joined us recently, and thank you all who stay with us from the previous talk. And our next speaker is Atulesh Kumar with the topic Stakeholders Relationships Through Communication Techniques. So, Atulesh, the mic is yours, please.
Thank you, Daryna. Greetings and welcome to all of you in this session. As you see, today's my topic is the stakeholders relationship through communication techniques. In this topic, I will take you through my BA experience while going through some points and will seek how my experience has been while working with different stakeholders throughout my experiences. I think you can see the presentation, right? Can you confirm? Yes, thank you. In this topic today, like I have first part is like we have to see like identification of stakeholders, why it is required, the approach we will follow to communicate with my identified stakeholders. What if during the journey my stakeholder personas gets replaced? How we, what impact happens, and how as a business analyst I walk into these challenges. And during this, if I need to balance the expectations and maintain relationship for effective delivery of my project. And at the end, we will go through some of your questions and I will provide answers based on my experiences. About me, I joined EPAM in India at Hyderabad location about a year ago as a senior business analyst. In my 12 plus years of IT experience as a business analyst or in pre-sales roles, apart from that, I perform product owner as well as product management and release management kind of assignments. Worked as a system test engineer as well as performed couple of UAT. During these activities, I worked with multiple international customers who were dealing with IT digital services and products which were majorly related to insurance domain, telecom, e-commerce related areas, retail and distribution, and gamifications. Okay, that was about me. So let's begin with my first part of this session. So that first topic is need to identify stakeholders. So basically, when we talk about why it is necessary for us as a BA to identify the stakeholders, and if we do not identify, what will be impact, right? So when we look for identification of my stakeholders, right? So that means what? We basically, as a business analyst, I perform analysis of my all stakeholders so that I get to know who is who and who wants what, right? What is their level of influence and impact on the project? And this, how I do it. Basically, we classify and characterize all the stakeholders, whether who are internal stakeholders or external stakeholders, what are the primary and secondary stakeholders involved in my project, who are going to be beneficiary or adversarial stakeholders, right? If we classify and characterize by identifying my stakeholders, So with that, we will basically we define and use our best collaboration approach, best possible communication approach, so that whatever initiatives I'm taking into my project or whatever tasks I need to perform as a business analyst, I should be doing in effective way and continue further to make those delivery towards the delivery like it should be effective, right? So this identification of my stakeholders based on who is doing what is their expectations, what is their level of influence and impact, and how I will be approaching to communicate to each kind of these stakeholders, right? And when I do this and play, when I approach them accordingly, so with this, we try to build a trust, uh, bring some confidence, and maintain a good relationship with them. Okay. So when as a business analyst, when I have identified my stakeholders, and I see that some of you or most of the business analysts, they get engaged into the project either into the pre-sales role or from beginning to end into different, like someone will be involved from beginning to end, from pre-sales to initiation, planning, execution, and closure of the phase. Someone might be starting their project activity being in that project initiation role itself, or in different part, either someone will be involved only in the planning, execution, and closure. So during each phases, we will interact with our stakeholders, and everybody will have their own expectations, right? So we try to understand their perspective. Being in the pre-sales, what is artifact required? If I'm into the project initiation phase, what what is the discovery I'm going to do? What's the business expectations? Who are my stakeholders? Similar way in planning and execution and closure phase, we interact with all, like whether it's from the development testing team or from the business side, my product owner or product manager. Everyone will have their own requirements, and each phase of delivery, we will be working accordingly, right? So I would like to give you an example of my project where we had to work, means as a business analyst, the responsibility was given to provide a Uber clone application to one of my business, right? And since it's a pre-project initiation phase, so a kind of pre-sales where we wanted to understand from the business perspective why they're looking for Uber clone application. Cannot they use directly Uber's application for transportation purpose? Cannot they use directly their own application? Why business is looking to have a own clone application, right? Then we got to know from the business that based on their own analysis, initial focus they spent to understand their local business, local market. Okay, they wanted to spend a minimum cost and introduce some basic feature to understand for their local people how this transportation business can be delivered, and are they will they able to make some money out of this business or not. So that's where they wanted to use Uber clone application with limited features. Okay, and to understand their business need, we had to go through multiple workshops, some communications analysis, multiple meetings to understand which all functionality they are looking. And as a business analyst, I had to identify some basic minimum requirement for a transportation purpose, create a prototype, make some small roadmap plan, because at which phase at and during what timeline, what is their expectations. And during this analysis communication process, we made the client as our business to engage with us and understand, okay, are they good with this kind of requirement, the solutioning which we are proposing. Okay, and that's how business they understood, they agreed, they liked the solution. And when we went with initial prototype, they came up with the feedback, and then we finalized a basic requirement, finalized the roadmap plan, and all these effort estimates was given, and then sign off, business sign off has happened for further process. Okay. Now this next topic is like approach to communicate. So when we identified my stakeholders, then we need to, as a BA, I need to understand what best approach I can follow to communicate with the stakeholders. Okay, why it is needed? Basically, we know that stakeholders, their purpose, and we need to have a close connection with that, with them, right? With our communication approach, we need to keep engage them throughout my project journey, listen them actively, so that we can analyze what business problem they are having, what solution they are looking for, and with my skills, overall, how we can approach to provide them effective solution, right? During this process, we come across all BA techniques. We follow all BA techniques: brainstorming, doing brainstorming, mind mapping, prepare diagrams, flow, business flow diagram. You talk to your architect, technical leads, understand overall end-to-end solution, and propose to the business, so that they can also understand. And if they find anything to be to be negotiated, so we negotiate it effectively, like what can be doable, what cannot be doable at this point, and how better we can approach to deliver the solution and perform the sign off, right? During this process, a business analyst has to collaborate a lot, right? Why it is required? Because when we understand with different people, with different stakeholders, from technical side, delivery side, from the business side, we analyze functional and technical part. So everything need to be organized at one place. We organize and make them available to everyone, so that they understand and they know the business purpose and what's going to be delivered, right? When things are organized and everybody knows what is expected with this business requirement, with this solutioning, then it makes life easy, right? We develop, we test it, we deliver, we do demo, we get feedbacks, again we work, rework, depending on the feedback, acceptance, denial happens, and we take it forward accordingly, right? So I'll quote one of my example. For one of the telecom related enterprise application, I was working on self-service web part, but that application was required multiple involvement from the IVR team side. There was app development team, there was mobile device team, handset team they called, and there was technical support team who has to address the customer issues. And everyone has their own application, and many functionalities was common across them. Okay, so when I'm working on the self-service application as a BA, and I got a new requirement from business, so I need to analyze that requirement and understand how this new requirements or any changes brought is going to impact other dependent systems. It could be IVR, it could be mobile app, or the technical support team who is going to address customers issues related to the functionalities, right? So as a BA, if someone is working on a specific module or a specific application, or being a senior BA or lead BA, or in a senior position role, someone is taking care of overall application, everybody has their own responsibility to understand the application, specific application in deep, being a deeply dive deeply into a specific application, and someone to have overall umbrella picture of end-to-end flow, right? If have we find who all are stakeholders in each specific modules, each specific features, and I have my communication approach, good communication approach, then it makes to collaborate them very easily and effectively, right? So I have the solution, the business requirement for my application. I understand how this business flow or this functionality can impact on another channel. Then I had to interact with the architect, the business lead, the technical lead from respective different applications, and communicate with them, show them the application, and understand, make the make my understanding fruitful with them, like if whatever I'm understanding for the dependency or the risks or the challenges, is it correct, or is it going to, or if it is not correct, then what could be the possible solution, and if it is there is a dependency, how they can approach, right? Every module has their own. For enterprise release applications, they are also following their own release cycles, right? So for we had a common enterprise release and multiple maintenance releases. So each maintenance release was independent, but enterprise release was a common release. So when we interact as a BA, I interacted with different BAs who are my stakeholder from the different stakeholders. They again took the business functionality, discussed with their own business teams. They come up with the solutions, and we identified how we can, for enterprise release, how we can effectively deliver the overall solutions, right? One changes in one area should not get impacted for the others. Okay, and this requires all our business like through best communication approach and collaboration way we achieved it. Then what happens, like the next, during my project cycle, when I'm working with my stakeholders, what happens when a person gets replaced, we get new person, right? And it's obvious and but not obvious as well. If it's a long duration project, you might find it some changes. If it's a shorter duration project, you may not find it. Okay, so there could be from business side or from your internal stakes, like from your development team side, there could be a change. Who is executing the project, or from the management side, there could be a change. So if they're getting changed, right, a new person has arrived. So we see that a new person, we have already collaborated as a BA, I have collaborated, I identified them, I understood their expectations, I had a good collaboration approach and had a good relations with them. Now a new person has come up. So do I need to start everything from the beginning, right? I knew who was my previous stakeholders, and I understood his expectations, what was his involvement into the project. I had a kind of relationship, trust build up, and we were doing everything smoothly. Now new person has come up, and we came across multiple thoughts and multiple experience because of this change, right? Sometimes changes are good, sometimes changes are not that good how we expect, but that's the business and we have to carry forward, right? So at this situation, what happens as a business analyst, the experience comes like how better we do a handshake, so that whatever we identified our stakeholders, how we identified our communication channel approach, how better way we can utilize those tools, techniques, what all we were doing in the past due to this change, how we can better way handshake it, right? Now, to do that, to achieve this part, and to in this situation, whenever this change happens, right? So we had to analyze what is the dependency, how this is going to impact my existing project, what are the underlying risks involved due to the persons with whom I was working, he has left. Okay. And we need to understand the behavior of newcomer, new members, so that we can eliminate some of the gaps, right? Because when new persons comes, we do not know their behavior, attitude, and all those things when we are working in the project. So whenever new members comes, whether it's from your development team, whether a new BA has been assigned to your team, or your new testers has come, or your project manager has changed, or from the business side with whom you interact your daily as a part of your daily job, what happens if they changed and now you have to deal with different person. Okay, so a better handsets we feel, right? As a BA, my responsibility is for the project success. Whoever comes, I need to do my job better, right? I understand the business, I understand what is expected for that specific role, and what is my communication channel, what are the communication process approach we are following, right? During what happens, like when this changes happens during initial period, definitely we have to be in contact, be in we need to collaborate more with my new persons, right? So that to understand, to know that he is on the same page, or I am also in the same frequency with him for this project, right? And then we make ourselves engage and proceed for future activities, right? So I will take one practical situation which has happened in my past previous project. After sprint one, my product manager has left the business team, like he's from the business client side, and he left the organization. And I had to there was a gap, like we had a regular communication, daily calls to understand our any business gaps, what all the requirements has been identified, how we are going to proceed, and provide him day-to-day update, go through demo process and all. But after the first sprint, when my product manager has left the organization, we didn't find any immediate replacement. We talked to business, and the immediate solution was given to interact with the boss of my product manager. He was the director, and being a senior position, he has multiple responsibilities, and he has no bandwidth to spend same amount of time how my product manager was giving to me for this project release, right? We are starting off second sprint, and we have to provide demo, we have to make him update, getting sign off for each stories, right? And we have to move ahead, and anywhere any kind of we have to take any decisions for this, any of the user stories or functionalities, we were dependent on our business side product manager. So how to deal in this situation, right? Already since the beginning of the project, we had a good collaboration, relationships, a kind of trust was built. So being a Scrum project, we were not involved into too much of documentations. Tools were there, information was there, many things was through the tools, through email sign-offs, through video recordings like demos and all. We got many things, sign-offs and all, right? So now though we had those gaps due to his absence, and the director, like my product manager's boss, he gave a chance like, okay, play a role of proxy product manager, and based on our sprint one's results and previous communications, we got chance to take like at least some logical decisions we can take and inform him so that he will be aware and he need not have to execute line by line how product manager was looking into, and based on his availability he will see and he will come back, right? In that, as a BA, when we find any functional issues or any kind of challenges coming from technical side, so analyzed with architect, technical team, technical leads involved from business side, technical persons, being from the functional side as a BA, took some logical decisions why we are going to follow this approach, why not that approach, why it should be correct, why not it should not be correct, right? So that way we had to analyze, and now our bit of documentation work increased. Earlier we used to show the demo in the day-to-day meeting. We used to walk through the applications, show him and get then and there approval. But now since that we had no flexibility to have this way of communication, so we understood, we documented who, the current situation and the solutioning which we are going to take part, right? Take all the artifacts, why we are taking the decision, input from the architect, technical leads, business people, right? From business analyst, any functional part, why we are going to follow the same this approach. Okay, so overall things, overall artifacts we created into the document, send to the director as a for his approval, for his review, right? And based on his timings, his availability, he has to see, and then we finalize like, okay, we can, if we are not having daily calls, so at least weekly once, or during demo his availability should be there so that we can make this project work effectively. Okay, and during this situation we have to, like, as a BA, I have to be proactive and try to engage my director as much as possible through email, through chat, right? Whenever he gets free time, he has to respond and be available for his time. Whenever he is free, at least we can communicate with him, we can talk to him and get the approvals or any kind of critical decisions we can take. In any kind of critical decisions we can take his input, so that way our communication channel little bit it increased, right? And our interactions was like more on offline, less on online, right? Online, I mean to say that daily, instead of daily one-to-one meeting, it was like weekly once, and during the demo we had to see his availability and get it, show and get it done, right? So that's how this journey was there when the stakeholders has been replaced. Okay, so that was from the business side. Similar thing we observe, like when a new BA members joins in the team, or you move to some different project from your current project, right? So as a BA you should have a sufficient onboarding document from your current project, so that whoever new person is replacing into your project, at least he should be comfortable enough to understand all the members involved into your project and what's their responsibility. He should understand, and also understand about what all features functionality he has to go through, right? Then I'll move to the next and the last part of this topic, that's on balancing expectations and maintaining relationships. Okay, So we saw from beginning, we identified stakeholders, we look for communication approach, we were involved into the projects, and we saw there was replacement, we saw the impact. Overall, everything for successful delivery of project, we want to balance expectations of my stakeholders, maintain relationships with them, and see how effectively, how successfully this project can be delivered on time, right? So to maintain good expectations and the relationships, definitely communication is the key, right? The more we communicate, we follow the best possible approach for communicating with different stakeholders, right? Whether it's my PO, director, product manager, or development team, my scrum masters, right? If I'm following, joining scrum of scrum meetings, I will be meeting different dependent team, right? Might be my developers or testers who has multiple queries, right? Everyone will have their own expectations, and for successful delivery, we need to maintain a good relationships through our best communication approach way and how collaborative I am, right? So everywhere this communication plays a great role. And since now in diverse environment, we are working with diverse team spread across the world. Everyone has their own culture, right? And if you are interacting to different teams, so they will have their own culture, right? We are working with Ukraine, India, Hong Kong, Singapore, right? US, Canada, right? We had big team, right? A small team in big locations, right? Or big team in big locations, right? We have so many people working in for a project, and everyone has different cultures, right? So we need to understand everyone, and accordingly, we will. That helps us to basically how we can collaborate with them and what best approach we can follow while communicating with them, right? When we understand each team's culture, right? And that's where, like, when we understand, we get to know the people. That helps us to work as a team and proceed further, right? As a BA, if I see that what is being asked and what better value I can provide, right? There will be some hidden thing we do not know, right? Business will communicate some requirement, and as a BA, like if I'm working as proactively, I understand the things, I know various requirements, and I interact with multiple people, okay, everyone's expectations, and I see like how better way, whether it's the functional side or from the technical side, what value can be brought into the product. If something is going to be obsolete, I understand, even I understand the market, I know the competitor, right? So if I analyze in multiple way and try to provide some values to the product, or if the project which where I am involved in project, I mean to say that the process, if you understand some gaps in the process, right? Or if you find like how better way we can improve this process. So as a BA, we need to find some kind of expectations which is already given, and something which we can guess, which we can think of, and which we can predict, identify those things, document it, provide it with some kind of metrics or with some artifacts, discuss with the responsible stakeholders who can approve it, right? And for BA, it's mostly from business side, it's the product owner or product uh, managers, right? And if you are looking about project processes, so you can discuss with your delivery managers or senior project managers who are all responsible for the process side and overall delivery, right? So if we provide some values for this product delivery. So this brings good relationships, right? People understands you and they find the capability in you, right? And these all things comes when we understand the situation practically. We understand from the business point of value, right? Any changes, any suggestions, anything which we are saying how it is going to give value to everyone, either it's a product, either it's a process, or overall interactions with my different stakeholders, right? So with this, I'll summarize the point. Like when we talk about, when we go about effective communication, we follow effective communication techniques and want to maintain the stakeholders relationships. So the first key is identify my stakeholders. According to identification, you see what best communication approach can be followed. You be collaborative with them according to the identified stakeholders need and expectations, okay, and try to maintain their expectations and relationships, right? So so with this, I would like to end my presentation in this section, where I already talked about like how business analyst can connect with different stakeholders, okay, and when they connect, provide all the artifacts with your reasonings, feedbacks, right? And then I would like to also say that we should understand the limit, expectations limit, right? We have to be clear what can be doable, what cannot be, right? And have to be, if something is we are targeting to deliver, so with whatever time is defined, what should we provide it with proper justification and reasoning. And similar thing is with what we cannot deliver at this point of time. Is it not doable at all, or if it is doable but at this point its priority and impact is not that much, right? So based on that only we cannot deliver at this time, or we have some limitations which with the agreement of business we want to get it cleared out, right? So those limitations are, if it is successfully managed, then only we can deliver it. And last but not the least, do not land into any conflicting situations. We should always avoid any conflicting situations. If suddenly suppose we landed into such situation, so we need to, as a BA, we need to lead the communication, or we should be proactively, we need to understand and bring everyone into a common page or in a common platform, so that we discuss the issue with positive mindset and get it rectified, right? And that's how, as a BA, we can connect with all our stakeholders, communicate them effectively, and look towards better delivery of the project, right? With that, I will end, and this floor is open for your questions and answers from me.
Yeah, Atulesh, thank you for your presentation. It's really great. Please find the first question in the chat.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Yeah, so the first question is, let me read. What if new stakeholder appeared or replacement happened, but part of functionality and the responsibility of the previous stakeholder was already implemented and vision of the new stakeholders differs on this part of functionality? How to manage such situation? Yes. So this is a good question. So that's what, like, we see that whenever replacement happen and new person comes with his own thoughts, right? So we know that when we had this project was existing, we had the roadmap plan and we had all our vision, right? And for that vision only, we have proceeded for this work. So when the new person comes, the new stakeholders bring his own vision or from the business side, something he has identified, which is different from my current flow of work, right? So I need to, as a BA, we need to analyze and see it, can it be doable immediately or in which phase we can bring it, right? So that way we need to do analyze it because already where this project is already running and team is working on a specified project plan, right? And they have specified functionalities. So now if vision changes, so we need to see from upper management like what's the priority and how much critical can this we implement immediately or after current delivery when we are going to implement it, right? So that kind of analysis a BA need to be performing, and then accordingly he or she has to proceed. I hope I answered, right?
For this, yeah, I believe you answered the question. Thank you. And we have the question too in the chat as well.
Mhm. Okay. The second question is how do you balance your priorities when working with stakeholders, right? Yes. So these priorities are on two ways. So one is business priorities, and second is when we are working in Scrum team. So on backlogs items, uh, dev team identifies, right? So as per business priorities, we provide all the user stories based on the business decision. What is my priority, right? And we had for MVP, we have already defined based on the defined product roadmap plan. We have defined for one release or for one sprint which functionalities need to go, right? So we have from business, we have the priorities and list of user stories. It has been groomed and the stories which has groomed and approved by the business technical team take it forward for development and delivery side. I hope I answered. Do you have any?
Yeah, yeah, we have another question
Mhm.
from our audience.
Okay, so the third question is what would you do if your stakeholders have conflicting views on an important issues? Yes, so that's what in my last slide I was talking about. Yeah, we should not land into the situation, but that's not in our hand, right? So understand the situation, like identify what has caused, like what are the differences and why these differences has come, right? And as a BA, definitely I give first priority to the business requirement, right? And when we talk about like different stakeholders, so I will again quote my one of the example when I was working for enterprise release. We had I was working on self-service application side, and then we have a team from IVR, right? IVR is also part of a self-service, but we had different schedules for our own release, and one requirement which is identified for web application self-service part is not yet ready for IVR because of their own backend and dependent systems was not ready, right? So when we found that requirement, we as a BA proactively informed those IVR team, this is some new requirement has there, and there is some changes they also need to incorporate. And for end-to-end testing, even we are dependent on some part. So identify like how better way we can do it, even though they are not able to deliver some solutioning to complete the end-to-end testing. I cannot wait for web application team to deliver, right? So we discussed with the team and got some kind of a dummy solution, or you can say that a mock-up input, where we had the communication from the API side or from different systems. So we got those kind of mock-up, and we proceeded for that. But that was for our maintenance release, and for enterprise release, even they were developed and we went through, right? So what happens if we are landing into conflicting situations? So analyze the situations, talk to everyone independently so that we get their views, and then set up a common meeting, discuss with them, and provide like what is good, what is bad, understand, seek the feedback, and provide your reasoning, and then see if you can conclude it in the same meeting, or you can, or you need multiple talks, or multiple follow-ups are needed. Then draft those, and after this current meeting, send them the minutes of meetings with action items and responsible person, and then throughout until this is resolved, follow up with them, and come up to a solution, right? So that way we can approach.
Yeah, we currently receive the next question. It's
Question.
like
Yeah.
the
So our
following
next
for the
question
first
is,
one.
yeah. So following the first question from the chat, I think the changing of stakeholders can be identified as a kind of risk in advance, and possible mitigation actions should be discussed with the customer in case of this risk occurs. What do you think? Right? Yes. So whenever this any project starts, so we know that, right? Like due to multiple business reasons, people can be changed, right? Currently I'm working in this project, tomorrow I may not be available due to some reasons, right? So always there is a agreement. It happens like whenever someone leaves, so there used to be a backup plan for the each project, right? So this is a known risk. It's not that it's unknown risks. Only thing, people do not know about the timing when someone is leaving. And that's where, like, even though we are working, we do document, we keep the knowledge base ready, and we have kind of minimum documentations ready. And when someone is leaving, we get a handshake and onboarding, and that's where, like, we keep onboarding document also ready, right? So someone is leaving, they do handshakes, right? And if something sudden happens which is completely unknown, right, which is not in our control, but still as a mitigation, right, people are there in the business who provides them some kind of backup, right? So that might happen, like immediately we may not get that quick solution, but yes, it may take 1 or 2 days extra time, but we get into the solution, right? So I it depends. Like some people may provide that risk, they may not, they may write it out as a risk in advance, or it may be known, right? Like it's a people industry, and people can switch from here to there and there to here, right? And everybody will have uh, for each project or for each task there will be minimum documentations and handshakes areas, right? So all these artifacts are ready. If not, ideally it should be, so that if someone is leaving or someone is absent for longer duration, so this work should not get affected, right? And that's where we have multiple tools, and for all projects and for all the development and delivery, there is a tools where lot of documentations are being done, and it's available online, so that any person can the required person who has access, and they can go through it and understand about the process or understand about the product and project and proceed, right? So basically, when person is also when person is leaving, so someone provides the notice period, right? So if it is no notice period, if we identify the good replacement during that notice period, then definitely there will be, you will find very minimal gap, even though someone is leaving. So it depends. Someone noted it as a, like they note it down as a risk in advance, and it's specifically they mention, or someone even though they do not mention, but somewhere in as a part of different process, it will be available, means documented in some different way, right? I hope I answered.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Atulesh. And I just want you to answer one more question about communication
Mhm.
channels that we should follow, should use.
Okay. Yes. So we say that for communication channel we have formal way and informal way, right? So when we are closely working with the team in a same location, so all formal way like email, chats, face-to-face communications, team meeting, we all follow, right? And even we go to breakout areas, discuss, during team bonding activities, right? So those are some kind of informal way we try to communicate and understand everybody's perspective, and yeah, so that way we follow. Now, many people currently, if we are working as a remotely, so definitely the communication channel we have to follow is right same. Like if it is a project team meeting, follows all stand-ups, communicate through email, chat, through video chat, right? Then we have placeholders for writing all the documentations, right? So in case I'm discussing with my business team, so there will be many verbal communications, right? I might remember everything at the time of meeting, I might not, right? So based on the permissions, like see the possibility if we can record the session, record it, draft all the information, right? And see how easily you can represent that, so that remaining team, right? Development team, testings, or even business can understand overall flow, right? So in communication channel, I will say that theoretically, like all formal, informal way, and try to represent the expected business results or anything as much as possible through some business process flow diagram, so that with lesser words, you pictorially you can explain many things, right? So that's, any other queries we have, do we have?
Yes, thank you, Dilesh. For now, it's all for questions. Thank you so much for your talk today. Your presentation was great, was gorgeous. I believe it will be a good thing to leave some links, useful links about how to communicate with a stakeholder in a chat. So you can do it on YouTube channel where we are streaming, or on VR community platform, everywhere you want.
Mhm.
Please do it. I think it will be very useful for our audience. And of course, you can, while waiting, join our social media channels. I left them in YouTube channel. And of course, you can find on our official YouTube channel other videos or podcasts. And the nearest time, we will upload more content.